All right. I know the Twins lost yesterday 5-2 to Miami. They wind up losing the series, but I think we had a pretty big win yesterday, Patrick and gentlemen. I think it was only 10 times in 162 games a Twin starter completed 7 innings last year.
Yes.
We already have one under our belts. Pablo Lopez.
Was it 10? Were there 10?
It was 8 or it was like 8 or 10.
I didn't even think it was that high. I know Bundy did it once early, didn't he? And then they wouldn't let him pitch more than 5. But yeah, it was astounding. It wasn't even didn't even look like he was stirring in the bullpen in the 7th. There was it. It wasn't until at the end of the inning you knew he wasn't going to keep going. Then how many pitches did he end up with?
Only 88 pitches. And in retrospect, probably didn't need to bring in Griffin Jacks and Caleb Thielbar to implode in the 8th inning, but that's Twins baseball.
But I mean, they're pretty good. So it's just, it's going to happen once in a while. Caleb comes in and does what he wants. Here, one of the new rules from about 3 years ago, Thielbar comes in, strikes out Louis Arise, which he was supposed to do because Louis 100 points less against left-handed pitching, but then he's got to face 2 more guys. And he managed to hit Solaire's bat. They did that yesterday twice. They hit Solaire's bat, just like when they hit Joey Gallo's bat last week twice in a game. So, Solaire's one of those hitters. If you throw him a nice cookie, he'll hit it out. And, I can't complain about having Jackson Thielbar in the game. They've both been pretty good. And Thielbar's been great. Not this time, though. He'll have a couple of those every year. So, but the 2 times they faced really good pitchers, they didn't hit, Lizardo, that guy yesterday, that lefty had some good stuff. And then, of course, Alcantara is fantastic. So
they got our guy Perkins, by the way. He's like doing the interviews with Rocco and stuff.
They're short-staffed.
I think Audra's
are they not traveling Audra, or what's the deal?
Well, she's doing hockey, I think. So
they might.
Well,
they quit paying the Twins, so you do have some problems.
Well, but they're putting Perky on a plane and flying him down there, so that expense-wise, it's no different as far as the Twins broadcast. But I don't know. They started that last year because Audra was complaining she didn't get to talk at all. So they would have her do like analysis after the 5th inning or something. And what that started late in the year, you'd say, the hell is she doing? But I think they've decided to do that now and sometimes Perky's trying to explain. Have you noticed the new analytics thing? They're trying to explain the new analytics. Well, he's trying to explain the new analytics to start the inning, and there's 2 outs because it doesn't take any time anymore. Honest to God, Judd and I were exchanging text yesterday. That 1 inning didn't take 2 minutes. The top of the half inning, it was at the 6th or 7th. It was like 80 seconds.
2:10, baby. Time of game, 2:10. 157 and 2:10 for the last 2 games.
And it looked like it had a fighting shot to go quicker than the other day until the bullpen ran in a little trouble there. But I just looked it up. 12 games yesterday. None of them went 3 hours. Cleveland. None of them went 3 hours. Cleveland and Oakland played a 6-4 game, 10 innings, a lot of base runners, and it was 258.
Wow.
That was the only, none of them went 3 hours yesterday.
Amazing. 12. This is great.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible, except damn well they're now going to have to, we talked about it yesterday, but they're going to have to do something about their concession business. One thing they could do is open the ballpark an hour and a half early instead of an hour, right? When do they open it? Like an hour?
It's usually like an hour and a half standard. It's 2 hours for opening day, but yeah, just like throw it open for an extra half hour or leave it open. I don't know what the rules are for leaving it open later, but
somebody sent me yesterday when I said that we were on the campaign to sell. I tweeted out that we are on the campaign to sell beer until the last pitch, and if you're in line, you can get a beer. But some guy said the new message from MLB is keep them open till the 8th inning, till the end of the 8th inning.
So there is been an adjustment.
Yeah, but Major League Baseball is the one who told them, because I'm sure it took 3 days for the owners to call them and say, we can't sell any hot dogs anymore.
Declan, re-up those tickets, Declan.
I'm renewing now. I got
Yes,
to sell
right.
another.
There it is. The twin
Say no
season ticket
more.
bat phone. Here it is. Yep.
Hello?
Might as well. But yeah, it is. Is this the first thing in baseball history that's worked too well? It's unbelievable.
It is. It's remarkable.
It is. Judd what'd you say? You were messing around. You flipped the game on after an hour, and it was the fifth.
Yeah, I started to watch. I'm like, it'll be in the third. It's in the fifth inning. It's like the bottom of the fifth inning.
It's like we legitimately have to recalibrate what we perceive.
Yeah,
I mean,
do.
I was telling you guys the other day, like I'm so used to scrolling through my phone between pitches because I just need like 9 screens to stimulate me now. And like for years and years, for 10 years of Twitter, right? You've got this sort of internal clock of when you need to look up, and now it's like I look up and there's like a commercial happening because the inning ended. Like, what happened?
Well, I could always watch 2 games, maybe 2 different sports events between pitches.
Yeah.
You could switch to see what the other score was. Everything was going on, switch back between pitches. Now you can't switch between pitches because the pitch is on the wave. It's astounding. And I got to tell you another thing. If Miami wants to get rid of that lefty that pitched yesterday, I'd take him off their hands. Whew, that guy's got some good stuff for a lefty. So they got shut down twice, but those guys are going to shut down everybody, those 2 pitchers. And then after that, Miami doesn't have anything but those 2 pitchers. Whew.
Yeah, Lizardo, Jesus Lizardo.
He came from the A's, right?
I believe, was he with the A's? Yeah, it's so hard to keep track. There's like 4 household names in baseball now. So
Oakland, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, that's they actually could have played today. Sunshine and everything's fine, but what's the high? 36 or 37 or something. So
yeah, we're gonna get 12 degrees bump tomorrow. So
yeah, and a nice weekend. So that's good. What the heck? Get rid of our snow and let's go here. Last night, watched a little hoops. Watched the Clippers and the Lakers. It was no contest. The Clippers, Kawhi, who plays, he takes a month off. He plays a couple of games. He takes a month off. The Kawhi played 43 minutes. Clippers have beaten the Lakers 11 in a row. The Lakers have not beaten the Clippers since the bubble in whenever the hell about the 2020 bubble in Orlando that they had. The Lakers haven't beaten them since then. It's amazing. And the Clippers are, Paul George isn't playing, and the Clippers beat them as bad as they wanted. It is weird though, Clippers home game, but it's in the same arena, and the crowd is cheering for the Lakers, of course. So, but LeBron and the fellas looked very tuckered out. So
and the Wolves took another bad beat last night. This is all self-inflicted, by the way. Don't lose 10 games to the worst teams in the NBA, and you don't have to play this game. But the Pelicans, I think, were down by about 20 points at one point in that game against Memphis, and they came all the way back and they won in overtime. So you're still a game behind the Pelicans and the Lakers.
I was actually watching the end of that game in regulation. The Pelicans were 6 up with 5 seconds to go and managed to go overtime. Yeah. They committed it. They fouled the 3-point shooter. Then they pushed. Then a guy made a free throw, missed the next free throw, and they pushed. They got called for a foul, pushing the rebounder out of bounds, and he made 2 more free throws and went to overtime. And then they won anyway in overtime. But it was one of the dumbest displays of basketball ever, and yet the Pelicans still won. So
yeah. So
it looks like the Pelicans and the Lakers will play for who's 9th and who's 10th. Though. That's
it's so right now. I mean, the Wolves. I think if the Wolves win out, including beating the Pelicans, I think they have the tiebreaker over the Pelicans. So they would then get the 8th spot. But so if you don't do that, you're going to play in the 9-10 game and then you have to win that to get to the next game. Mm-hmm. But even if let's say you win your last 2 games and you get that 8th seed, okay, you're going to go to Los Angeles, play the Lakers and the Refs. Yes. It's they've just totally screwed themselves with that Portland loss and a bunch of these other ones.
Yeah, and even if you, if you get the 8, you're going to have to go to LA and then get in a plane and fly back from LA to play at home, right, against whoever, the Pelicans or whoever's coming in here and play them 2 days later. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they're not in great shape, to say the least.
And if they do get through with that 7-8, let's say they play the 7-8 game, they do beat the Lakers, it would be a rematch against the Grizzlies in the first round.
I saw Johnny tweet this out yesterday. I didn't realize it was this bad. The ones, the tankers, the teams that are tankers.
Yeah.
They're 5-10.
Yeah. We talked about it yesterday.
It's insane.
They're 5-10 against the tankers. And if they lose to San Antonio, which they can lose to San Antonio, they'd be 5. But hey, how about the NBA, the scheduling though? How moronic is this? You play Tuesday, right? Then you don't play till Saturday and you have back-to-backs. What the hell is that about? Why aren't they playing like Thursday or something? It
is weird. And what's ridiculous, obviously you're not going to go 15-0 in those 15 games, but 5-10 is embarrassing. If you were to flip that, which I think is reasonable, go 10-5 against the worst teams, the Pistons, the teams that don't want to win. The Blazers were literally putting out a G League team not wanting to win. They weren't there's a couple calls they could have challenged and they didn't because they don't care. And you still if you go 10-5 in those games instead of 5-10, I believe you'd be sitting 45 and 35. You'd be the 4 seed, a half game above the Suns right now.
Yeah. They have been a weird bunch, to say the least. But they had the flu, so that's Archie. Yeah. Last year, the Twins
had
officials,
the flu.
Last year, the Twins had, yesterday, the Twins had shadows. I saw we had shadows yesterday was the reason we couldn't hit. Either that or this guy was throwing 98 and with the movement, the lefty, that could have had something to do with it, too.
Grossly unfair, Patrick.
Yes.
Grossly unfair when a team like the Marlins takes those shadows and tries to use them to their advantage. Hey, Frozen 4, we got the Gopher Pucksters.
What was it? Only 2 years ago that we sent 3 Minnesota teams to the Frozen 4, and Massachusetts sneaked in and won the title, took it away from us. So I'm not underestimating these sneaky teams from the East, Boston U and Quinnipiac, because you don't know anything about them. But I really think they're going to win it, and they played that lousy first period up and against Canisius, and then they've been pretty good ever since. I think they found their game. They got the best players that they've had in 20 years, and I think they're going to win it. And but it's hockey, so.
Okay, are we greasing the light poles in Dinkytown? Legitimate question.
I don't know.
We were turning cars over 20 years ago.
Yeah, and UConn gave us a little example of what the modern student thinks he should do. Pull down a light pole and then push it through the student union front glass. So that kind of stuff. So yeah,
that wasn't good.
We've seen if you can have a riot in Storrs, Connecticut, which has got about 5,000 people. Think of what we can do here if we want to. But we did have the riot, but our riot back then was what? Telephone poles and burning the garbage bins, right?
I think we burned a couch, right?
Did we burn a couch?
I think we burned a couch in the middle of the road, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
I got news for you people. I will never be impressed with your post-victory riots because I was in Detroit in '84 and they knew how to riot. Damn it!
Yeah. That's what started, I think. I think that's where post-celebration riots started.
Yeah, they'd done it in the '60s too, but this one was more dignified. And,
how do you go from joy over a sporting event to lighting couches on fire and turning over cars? That's angry behavior.
We were in the press box at Tiger Stadium where you could walk out on the roof if you go through the back door, right? Because it was up way up high, and you could walk out on the roof. And I remember Randy Galloway walking out there and said, "You got to come and see this." So we walked out there, and they tipped over a cab. All these white kids from the suburbs, by the way, were the rioters. They were all urinating on the firing cab. There was like 8 guys whizzing on the burnt over cab, and there were fires all up and down Michigan Avenue, and you could see them all in the distance. I've told you that story before. The helicopter comes in, lands in the middle of the field, and this is 3 hours after the game. It's pitch dark, and we all said, "Oh my God, they're going to evacuate us." And it was the guy bringing in Domino's pizzas for the media. It was the guy, the Domino's guy.
Tom Monahan.
On the team. Tom Monahan owned the team, and they were bringing in pizzas. We thought they were going to airlift us out of the ballpark. There were so many flames around there. But by the time we got out of there, like 4 hours after the game, the youth had gone home, and there were still flames around, but you could get downtown then, and cabs were coming out again to take you back. And they had buses then too for the World Series to take back. But that was, man, if you're going to riot, let's do it right. Come on, let's go here. Come
on, kids. Yeah.
Anything we get our hands on, let's light on fire. Let's go.
And then real quick here, Pat. I know the Masters is underway here, but why don't you give us what's your gut here? Are we going to get any fisticuffs between Liv and PGA players? There were some awkward moments. It looked like with the green jacket photo a couple days ago, where you had a row of Liv guys over here.
The Champions Dinner, which is on is it Wednesday nights or Tuesday night? Maybe
I think it's Tuesday night. I think
Tuesday nights, and Scotty Scheffler had the menu, and Scotty Scheffler is the most boring. He purposely the most boring guy that ever lived, so he's not going to stir anything up. I don't know. I think Rory's got to be the main character that the Liv guys hate, right? Because he's been ripping them way more than anybody else. So that's who knows if there's some question about marking the ball or who's out first or something, but I'm sure that Augusta will try to keep it under control. It is, it's funny not covering it now for a decade almost and listening to it. The holiness, the hallowed ground angle does drive me crazy watching it. It's a golf tournament.
The patrons.
We know what the holes are. We know what the holes are, but we don't have to bow down every time we take a break and how wonderful it is. It's unbelievable. No one, and just think of a few years ago, like 20 years ago, when it was the citadel of segregation, that place, and we were still talking about how wonderful it was. Now, I always liked going down and covering it because it was a good golf tournament, and you got to know the golf course, and you knew where you could go and watch them play and stuff like that. But I never bowed down to I don't think.
I think you should put some respect on Flowering Crabapple's name here, Pat.
Yes.
Okay, how disrespectful. Pink Dogwood, okay.
The great one was when they had the late spring and they didn't have, or maybe they had the early spring and the flowers all had faded, they were faded. So they're like down there on Monday or Tuesday, you could see them bringing in all these potted plants and hiding them back in the bush to make it look like they were flowering azaleas, They wanted to
Jim Nance is back there helping the groundskeepers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. Who do I like? We always like to pick somebody. I think it's not Rory. Everybody's saying, this might be Rory's year. He can't putt.
John Rahm just 4-putted the first hole for double bogey. Not that that's going to stop him from winning, but
no, but he actually had his run though. He had 6 months, and now all of a sudden he's not playing as well. When even the greatest guys have their time off, except for Tiger. He's the only one who didn't really have a slump when he was in his prime. But the rest of them, they come and go. And I don't think he's hot now. You got to go for the guy who's hot right now. But I don't know. I don't really have a pick. It's everybody says Scheffler's playing the best, but that doesn't mean he's going to go back to back. They don't go back to back there that often. So what the heck? Who you picking? I don't know. Cameron Young. How about that?
Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah, he deserves a major.
Out of there. Okay, that'll be my pick.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. All right, gents.
All right, Pat. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
See ya.
Bye.
Home opener for the Twins tomorrow. Reusse Unchained on SKOR North.